One, Chris. The number's one. That's how many games back the Panthers are from a playoff spot. Just one game back.
You know what? We got a lot of games left.
A lot left.
And we can possibly get into that spot, man.
It's all about getting to that spot, baby. It's all about getting to that spot.
Yeah.
Let's get this sucker started.
Get dialed in, Panthers fans. Here comes an in-depth look at your team. Exclusive interviews. Locker room insight. Let's huddle up for Panthers Playbook. Presented by Wake Orthopedics, a Wake Med physician practice. Here are your hosts, Dennis Cox and Chris Lea.
Welcome back to another episode of Panthers Playbook. That's Chris Lea, Dennis Cox here with you. Panthers Playbook sponsored by Wake Orthopedics. Actually, a couple questions. I want everyone to leave their thoughts down in the comment section. First one, can this Panthers team actually make the playoffs? We just mentioned a moment ago. They're only one game out of a playoff spot. But second of all, can they win this Sunday if Andy Dalton starts at quarterback? Let's be honest, Chris. This is one of the biggest games that in recent memory for the Carolina Panthers in terms of potential playoff spot, or not playoff, I mean necessarily playoff spot, but you're one game back of the playoffs as we hit the middle part of the season, chance to go to 5-3. You have one of the best teams in the NFL, one of the best quarterbacks, and Josh Allen coming into Bank of America Stadium, a team fresh off of a bye week, and you have a chance to maybe make some magic this coming Sunday, Chris. And the question is, who's going to be under center when that happens? It seems like it's going to be Andy Dalton. I'm not buying some of the stuff we saw on Wednesday's practice in terms of his rehab. Like, that was just rehab out there on the field. That's all it was. He didn't practice on Wednesday. I don't see Bryce Young playing on Sunday at all.
Yeah, it feels like a lot of gamesmanship coming from the Carolina Panthers. And, I think, the Bills probably know, we better prepare for Andy Dalton as well. But if they're going to prepare for Andy Dalton, then they're going to have to prepare for a lot of run game too. Mm-hmm. I think that Dave Canales is he understands what this moment is. Typically, not only just under Dave Canales, but for the last few years for Carolina Panthers, if you're going against a team like this, a team of this caliber, a team that could potentially make a conference finals, right? Or that people expect them to make at least the conference finals, or else it's a failure for them. Like that type of a team that you're facing, typically the Panthers get blown out, right? Yeah. And I think that naturally, as we were looking at the season, when I looked at that game, I was expecting a blowout. I didn't want it to be 35-0. I wanted it to at least be something somewhat respectable, right? Like, maybe if it ends up being 30-14, okay, that shows some type of improvement and the Carolina Panthers can do well. They're actually in a position where now you're going into this game. You don't have a losing record. You have some expectations of your own. Yeah. And you've been playing very well. And your strength on offense happens to be the other team's weakness on defense. Mm-hmm. Listen, the betting odds, I'm sure, are in the favor of the Buffalo Bills. However, if there's ever been a game that the Panthers could really have a true upset, they called the Dallas game an upset. I don't know if that's really an upset per se. I think we inflate what Dallas really is sometimes. This is a true potential upset alert for the Carolina Panthers.
Absolutely.
And it'll be very, very cool if me and you are in Bank of America Stadium on Sunday witnessing that from the Carolina Panthers.
By the way, Panthers are, depending on where you look at when we're recording this, 7.5-point underdogs, according to the old sports books. So, touchdown plus underdogs, the Carolina Panthers. So, yes, this would actually be a pretty massive upset if Carolina were to pull this off. And the question is, how different, or different's the correct word. How different will the offense look with Andy Dalton, or how different will the game plan be with Andy Dalton at quarterback? And I was actually thinking about this, and I was like, you know what? It's not really that different. Because I think Carolina is in a situation with their backup quarterback, Andy Dalton, that a lot of other teams aren't. And that's the fact that Andy Dalton's been in the league since 2011. He's not a journeyman backup guy. This guy was a longtime starter, been to the playoffs multiple years, made Pro Bowls. Like, this guy has been there and done it. Is he what he was back in 2015? No, he's not. He's just simply physically not that anymore. But it's not like the situation where, for example, if Tua Tagovailoa in Miami gets hurt and they're bringing in Quinn Ewers, who's a rookie 7th rounder, that's their backup quarterback situation. A lot of those cases were like, all right, let's shrink the playbook down to about 20% and really limit what this guy could do. The playbook, in my eyes, it's some things might be a little bit more open while some things might close. Bryce Young, as we've seen, very adept at throwing on the run, improvising, getting outside the pocket. That's where he really can thrive, especially rolling to his left. He actually throws really well rolling to his left, which not many quarterbacks can do. I don't see Andy Dalton doing a lot of that because he just doesn't have Bryce Young's mobility.
Right.
But I also think that the style of play that Andy Dalton came into the NFL with was very much more under center. Someone that can actually turn his back to the defense off of play action and be able to make a quick decision reading the ball, right, reading the defense downfield. I think you might see a little bit more under center type play from the Carolina Panthers this coming Sunday.
Yeah.
And it also allow you to lean into the run game, which I think whether it's Bryce or it's Andy or it's Hendon Hooker or the white guy, Mike White, either one of those guys, White Mike, either one of those guys, you still got to lean on the run game. You mentioned it, Chris. The weakness for the Buffalo Bills defense, it's their run defense. They give up a league worst 5.8 yards per carry.
Lord Jesus.
Give the ball to Rico Dowdle, please, and thank you.
Isn't it something like 158 yards per game that they give up on the ground?
Something along those lines. The reason why I look at yards per attempt is because sometimes that can be skewed because most teams are trailing against Buffalo, so they have to throw the ball. But in terms of yards per attempt, they're dead last in the NFL.
Yeah.
Chris, lean into the run game, please.
Absolutely have to lean into the run game, and it's going to be an interesting process for the Carolina Panthers, and also I think it's going to be interesting for Buffalo. Like, how do you prepare for that? You're going to have to prepare for the run game, but like you said, you have two quarterbacks who have kind of different styles, but it does feel like whether it's Bryce or Andy Dalton, it doesn't feel like there is a quarterback on that roster that Dave Canales is just going to let them rip, if that makes sense. Because it does feel like Bryce is kind of held back in some ways. And that could be for whatever limitations they feel like he has that they've noticed in games or in practice or whatever. Clearly, there are going to be some limitations with Andy Dalton as well. So, you made a great point right there. Like, I don't think you're going to see these like great heroic plays from the Carolina Panthers. You're going to see some pretty much some standard stuff, but also maybe a lot of eye candy to, kind of keep those safeties and linebackers, keep them a little stagnant, keep them a little honest. It'll be interesting to see how all that plays out. As far as the run game, Dave Canales feels like he's leaning into this, alternating series thing with Chuba Hubbard and Rico Dowdle. And of course, like, I don't necessarily agree with that. I don't think you agree with that because we want Rico Dowdle to be the guy. But it's something that he said in Wednesday's press conference. Can't remember the word or the verbiage verbatim from him. But it made me realize basically where he was saying he wants both guys to – he loved the fact that on Wednesday both guys were fresh and ready to go for practice. And he wants to continue to have that for the rest of the season. And it made me realize that's how he's looking at it. He realizes that Rico Dowdle is doing the best right now. But he's looking at it as the long game so that later on in the year, he can have both of them together. And that feels like a correction from the way he ran things earlier in this season because he was really running Chuba. And then Chuba got hurt. And then he saw Rico Dowdle. And then, of course, Rico in 2 games started cramping up. And it's like in his calves, of all places, that's where the injury was for Chuba Hubbard. So now I think I somewhat got into the mind of Dave Canales just listening to him today. It was like, okay, he knows. He knows Rico is the guy. But also he saw the mistake from earlier in the season. So he doesn't want to make that mistake. So how can we make it even with these guys? And I still think a big way to potentially do that is to use 2 back sets.
Yeah.
You don't have to just do either or, every other possession or whatever. Go do your 2-back sets. Like, you can figure out ways that one of those guys is not taking a lot of punishment while the other one is running or, whatever, to keep the defense on their heels. So I just hope he just kind of throws some things at the Buffalo Bills to confuse them a little bit. But, even though I don't quite agree with the approach, I think I kind of understand where he's coming from now that I've listened to him on Wednesday.
I think using the 2-back sets, one way to get Rico Dowdle involved as well. We didn't see really much in the game against the New York Jets. Get him involved in the passing game more.
Yeah.
He's in my eyes more dynamic in the passing game than what Chuba Hubbard can provide. Not saying that Chuba Hubbard can't catch a screen pass and whatever it might be. But I think in terms of being able to split a guy out wide or line him up in the slot or use him in motion, whatever it might be, Rico Dowdle is a guy that can do that.
Yeah.
I mean, I do like the fact that Rico Dowdle had a couple or had more carries than Chuba Hubbard did. I thought there should have been at least a little bit more of a gap, but the lack of touches in the passing game was the thing that really, really bothered me, I guess you could say, or maybe gave me pause. I was like, what? He has that element to his game. I have no problem with him having 17 carries, but give him 5 touches or 5 catches in the pass game. Get him 22 touches in that regard. I think you can use Chuba Hubbard. Hey, grind out the 4 5-yard carry, 3, 4, 5-yard carry. Really just pound the defense and really wear down the defense. Because then when Rico comes back in, when he's fresh after maybe back-to-back or 3 carries by Chuba, Rico's fresh and ready to go, and that defensive front is feeling it a little bit. Now, also, let's also keep this in mind, though, Chris, that bye week for Buffalo, chance to get a couple guys back, guys maybe get a little bit healthier, and also a chance for them to kind of self-scout and reevaluate how things are after 6 weeks of the season. So for Carolina, it's you might be catching Buffalo at a bad time, if that makes sense as well, because I feel like this Buffalo team is really going to sit there and figure out, like, all right, what do we do well outside of giving the ball to just Josh Allen and letting him just make magic? But what do we do well on both sides of the ball? What are we struggling with and try and fix things? This also might be a situation where you're catching Buffalo at the wrong time.
It could be. And look, I clearly don't follow Buffalo the way I follow the Carolina Panthers, so I'm not as familiar with their personnel. But Dennis, I had a thought.
Okay.
I'm sitting here. This is just me putting out hypotheticals here, right?
All right.
And I was wondering why a Sean McDermott-led team, a guy that is a great defensive mind, did a great job when he was with the Carolina Panthers as their defensive coordinator, has done a great job while he was with Buffalo, why that team is so poor with stopping the run. And I didn't look at any analytics to come up with this hypothetical. I think I've potentially figured it out.
Go on.
This goes back to how bad the Carolina Panthers have been drafting. Because Buffalo hasn't been able over the last couple of years to really pick off the former Carolina Panthers players.
That's a good point.
A lot of their
Thompson
defensive
there. Yeah.
A lot of their defensive line, since Sean McDermott has been there up until recently, have been former Panthers players. So they've been really good up front because either the Panthers couldn't pay the guy or they had to make a decision to pay somebody else, or, maybe in the case of Vernon Butler, he didn't do as well with the Carolina Panthers, but you can go there and use him in certain ways with Buffalo and get some mileage out of him or, whatever. And the Carolina Panthers have drafted so poor since 2020.
Yeah.
That other teams that typically are used to picking off their players who they don't use well or can't pay or let go or whatever aren't able to get the good players from them. So really the only people that have been left, DJ Moore, Christian McCaffrey, Brian Burns, now Shaq Thompson. But I mean, that was just a decision of like, hey, you're getting old. We got to move on.
Yeah. The injuries.
Yeah. Injuries as well. But like, that's something I'm kind of wondering if that has a little something to do with it. But that's just a hypothetical I'm throwing out there. It's not scientific at all. But maybe just maybe Panthers drafting bad since 2020, besides this past year. And I think, 2024 is pretty good. Maybe it's having some negative impacts on other teams.
Chris, you mentioned the young guys. I want to dive into something that you said after Sunday's game against the Jets. Your guy Mitchell Evans, tight end.
You mean TE1?
He just might be, man. He just might be. I'm a big fan of Tommy Tremble. I think for the role that he's playing, I think he's a good, like, quote unquote number 2 tight end. Can do a little bit of everything. Good blocker. Can get me some passes. He's what?
That man is crazy. You see the way he runs. He runs like I am ready to die right now, and I will take you out with me.
He might.
That's the way that he runs, and I kind of like it. I kind of wish he was a running back.
I love Tommy. I've had a chance to speak to him a few times one-on-one. He's a legit good dude. You and I have a chance to talk to him in the locker room as well. He really is a good guy, and I think the role that he has on this team is perfect, and I think he does a fantastic job with it. I've seen Jadeveon Sanders drop too many passes.
Yeah.
And this dude has a lot of potential because we've seen those flashes. We have, but it just hasn't come together yet. Yeah. Mitchell Evans, we've seen, especially this past Sunday against the Jets, we saw a lot of 3 tight end sets, saw a lot of it. Yeah. He might be the better pass catcher, the most consistent pass catcher of those 3 is Mitchell Evans. And we've also seen him do well in the blocking game as well. And he seems to be getting better week after week after week.
Might be the better route runner too.
Also might be that as well. Might not be the most athletic of the group. But you know what? This is also Dave Canales. Lean into the guy that's playing well. Lean into the guy that's playing well. Like we talked about with Rico Dowdle. Lean into the guy that's playing well. That's Mitchell Evans.
I've heard that, with scout team practice and things like that, Jadeveon Sanders and, Jalen Coker, for instance, have a really good connection with Andy Dalton. That was something that Xavier Legette was asked as well after the game on Sunday. Oh, no, I think on Monday, he was asked about his connection with Andy Dalton.
By the way, real quick, who caught the touchdown pass from Andy Dalton and then that mop-up duty game against the time against the New England Patriots? Who caught that touchdown? Mitchell Evans. Go on. Just saying.
I was just going to say, like, with Andy, we're expecting Andy to play. We don't know for sure. We're expecting it. You kind of wonder if any of those guys will end up, having a rise in their play. Because it does kind of feel as if, I don't want to say Bryce has his favorites, but there are certain guys that Bryce is on the same page with a little bit more than others.
Yeah.
So who benefits a little bit more with Andy Dalton potentially playing as the starter on Sunday? That is something that I'm looking forward to watching as well. So, but yeah, my guy Mitchell Evans has been balling, man. That is such a good pickup.
It really has been, and we're seeing the youth overall. Right? We can wrap up on this, Chris. We're seeing the youth overall for this team really start to blossom over the last couple of weeks. Nick Scorton had his best game statistically this past Sunday against the Jets. Princely Umamielen had one of his better games as well. We're starting to see some of these young guys.
And toughness from Princely, too. Yeah,
for real.
My man got hurt twice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm with it. These young guys, we've seen Shaw Smith-Wade make some plays this season. So we're starting to see the youth start to rise for this team, which is good. Again, growing pains, but growth is the key part of that.
Here's the other part, too.
All right.
Let's say the Carolina Panthers are able, let's say the defense is able to, play very well, maybe make Josh Allen a little uncomfortable. Let's say the Panthers are able to get a lead. They're leading in the third quarter, going into the fourth quarter. And that's a very dangerous spot for the Carolina Panthers because Josh Allen is that guy.
He is.
Right?
He is that dude.
But also, you have J.C. Horn on the other side. And we saw what happened when the Panthers are playing with the lead, and you got to throw it.
Yeah.
So it kind of makes you wonder what potential situations Josh Allen could be in and how it may end up benefiting, guys like Derrick Brown, guys like Nick Scorton and Princely Umamielen going after the quarterback. but then how it may impact somebody like J.C. Horn or Shaw Smith-Wade, who might be able to pick some balls out of the air. So we'll see what happens with that. But that's something I'm hoping I get a chance to see.
The one thing this team can't afford to do is fall behind 2 scores.
Oh yeah, not against this team.
You can't afford to fall behind 2 scores for the simple fact that you can't exploit the weakness of Buffalo. If you're having to sit back there and throw, you can't exploit their defense, their liability on defense, which is their run defense. Yeah. This team is built to play with the lead, and understandably so for the Buffalo Bills. They're built to play with the lead.
And you know what? And I would say even if like first half, if you get down by 10, it's still the first half, still run the ball. You can do that. When we get into the second half, if you're down by 2 touchdowns, actually 14 points or more, that's when it's going to get scary, because then I don't know if I trust Andy Dalton to go back there and sling it a lot, because he can get a little loose with it as well.
Oh yeah.
He can
Red
get
Rifle
loose.
lets it spray, man. He'll let it fly.
Hit that TI and let me see you get loose.
And we're going to end on that right there. Big shout out to Wake Orthopedics, our sponsor. Going to get loose. Again, shout out Wake Orthopedics, sponsor here at Panthers Playbook. Make sure you subscribe. Y'all are the best. Thank you all. We'll see you at Bank of America this Sunday.
Meet me at the bank.